This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by Lens Crafters. Time to get our HD Nation on. More and more 3D TVs are adding a feature that allows two players to see their own view, their own individual view within a video game with the use of 3D glasses, i.e. you see your player, I see my player, we're both looking at the same screen. If that feature is a selling point for you, Mr. Heron has something you might be, well, interested in.
Ta-da! Let me introduce to you the PlayStation 3D display. Pretty sweet. It's a 24-inch edge-lit LCD. $400 online, 240 hertz technology, 1080p resolution, a couple of HDMI inputs, a couple of component video inputs. Note that it's a display. There's no built-in tuner, so they got to call it a display, not an HDTV or a television. No networking options either, like apps or Ethernet or built-in Wi-Fi. This is really just a display made for 3D.
If it's connected to your PS3 or your Blu-ray player, you don't really need applications built into the TV.
This is true. This is true. Having that console connected, and truly, this TV is made for being connected to a PlayStation 3. Style-wise, Sony has it going on. It's strong. A snap-together setup, the flush-face design, as well as side-mounted stereo speakers. 10-degree tilt. You can tilt the screen back a little bit if you have it mounted a little bit lower or sitting on a table. No remote control, though. That was really the one thing that jumped out at me right out of the box, so to speak. Apparently, it will work with Sony's BD remote control for the PlayStation 3, but I was never really able to get that working. I'm not really sure what the functionality is. I wasn't able to turn it on and off or access the menus or anything like that. So that was really the one issue I did have it.
Right.
Like I said, this display is really made for connecting to the PlayStation 3, and the big deal there is something called SimulView, and that is where, using their special 3D glasses that are made for this TV, and they're about, I believe, $55 online, you're able to see a full screen view of your favorite game with a separate picture, a separate view then from your other player that's playing with you. So if you're doing two-player mode, you don't have to do split screen anymore.
Right.
You do full screen, each wearing separate glasses, each getting their own view, and that's similar to what we were looking at CES with some of the new 2012 TVs, basically taking that performance for the 3D technology, and rather than doing distinct left-right views, they'll do a left-left for player one or right-right for player two. Both images being displayed simultaneously on the screen.
Can you do this with any PS3 application, or do they need to sort of optimize the game to work with this?
Has to be optimized. Included in the box is MotorStorm Apocalypse. That's a pretty great title. But I had even more fun with an updated patch for Gran Turismo 5.
Oh, nice.
Drop that in there. There was also a handful of other games too, about 5 total, including Super Stardust HD, Killzone 3, and a couple other games. But all of the 3D games, of course, will play back in 3D mode, but if you want that simul-view where you're going to do two-player, you each want your own full-screen display rather than the split screen, you need to look for the supported titles then. And of that, there are about 5.
Cool.
Currently.
So how did it hold up to the traditional benchmark tests?
Nothing to brag about. I mean, it's easy to set up. When you plug it in, it is a colorful, detailed picture, but don't expect reference color quality or even basic white balance controls needed to approach reference HD color output. Stick with the cinema preset. It added a bit of extra bass to the weak-sounding speakers, and it got the color temperature closer. But if you want to look at some benchmark results, they were kind of all over the place, really. It was, in terms of mixing red, blue, and green, it's a very blue set. They're fairly consistent, but this is a display that would really benefit from having something like built-in white balance controls.
I mean, this is for the kids' room, this is for the playroom, this is in the room with the pool table so that a bunch of people can play games. This is not your
Maybe even the dorm
quality
room would be a good application for this. It's really where you're a PlayStation gamer and you want to be able to do a lot of two-player gaming, and you each want your own full-screen view.
Right.
Now, one interesting thing is, while in 3D movies you're going to get full 1080p wearing the glasses in each eye, when you go to the SimulView mode in gaming, it's actually closer to 720p for each player.
Right.
Still pretty good though. And
if you're
to
playing
me,
a shooter, I don't think it's going to impact you that much, or even Gran Turismo, or
totally. I really didn't notice it at applicable viewing distances, and really, I found gaming full screen with two players so much more enjoyable than doing a split screen view.
Right.
It's also the privacy thing. Your opponent can't just look up or down on the screen real quick to see what you're doing, and that was kind of neat. I dig that. And this is really, for me, just a preview of what's coming up for the 2012 TVs as well.
That was my big question. It's like, okay, $400 available now.
Totally.
Is it worth waiting a few months to get like a 55-inch screen with this kind of technology built in?
Well, also consider too, if you're not using the PlayStation 3, there's less of a reason to buy this particular screen. You could spend that $400 on just a 3D TV that will work with any game console, rather than the SimulView. You're really buying this specifically to have SimulView now, and perhaps the size at 24 inches. That's good for smaller environments.
When do you expect the SimulView for Sony or the SimulView-like technology to show up in other brands of TVs?
See, that's the big question. Samsung and others and LG have actually introduced TVs for 2012 that will incorporate those types of features. Sony hasn't, at least for their 2012 models, I haven't seen anything specific saying they're going to have that functionality in their TVs. However, they're plenty well capable of it. They're premium models in particular, so they could add that with a firmware update. The TVs have not even released yet, so they might add that in at the last minute as well.
Any
I'm
chance
hoping they do.
There'll be firmware updates for older television that'll bring that type of tech?
Not really, because the 240 hertz tech is really key here. In order to get adequate brightness for 2 players, you need a high-speed panel, and that's really what this is showing you. And like I said, overall, if you're a PS3 gamer and you want to get the SimulView on now, you have a way to do it. Otherwise, perhaps hold off.
Fong from Sacramento writes in, I currently have a Panasonic 55-inch VT30 with THX mode, which is supposed to be the best setting for watching Blu-ray movies. I also own a Spears and Munsil Blu-ray calibration disc, that you have reviewed, and I was wondering if I should stick with the THX mode or bother with the Spears and Munsil calibration. Also, where can I get some information of Robert Heron's calibration services? Fong in Sacramento, California. So the THX mode is a factory preset. Basically, the company hired THX to come in, tune the televisions, and THX basically is trying to produce a picture that accurately represents the video signal to calibrate the televisions on a grand scale across hundreds of thousands of televisions. THX analyzes hundreds of aspects of video reproduction when they make their recommendations, and that mode should provide the best picture quality in an appropriate lit room.
Yeah.
And then it starts getting divided.
A little bit. THX, on the newer sets I've seen, also have day and night modes. Most of the original THX modes were really designed for darker environments where you could control the light in the room really well, because generally speaking, you'll look at the picture on the original THX modes, it would be kind of dim looking. However, but when THX certifies a 3D display, like your VT30, they're doing that as well, in addition to the 2D verification, so that your 3D experience should be very close to the reference quality right out of the box. Now, that Spears and Munsil disc you mentioned, that's an excellent setup tool that you can use actually to confirm the THX presets. You could also verify and tweak your other presets, or use it as source material for creating custom presets. This disc's brightness and contrast patterns are some of the best I've used in terms of just getting it accurately set up.
So, if I already have THX calibration on my television, am I wasting my time doing the Spears and Munsil stuff?
No, not at all. Especially if you're stuck with just that THX night mode, where it's too dim maybe to you like the color quality and the detail, but it's not bright enough, and you want to experiment with increasing brightness without affecting other aspects of picture quality. That's where you're going to need a test disc like the Spears and Munsil disc, or others that are out there as well. And sometimes those factory presets like the THX modes are updated with new settings. The very first THX plasma I ever looked at was an LG model, and the THX mode looked a little green. It was it's like, that isn't right. They actually put out a firmware update later on that adjusted that at the factory. And other companies like Vizio also do custom calibrations in-house, and then they'll promote those settings out through firmware updates as well.
And should someone in the greater California area like to employ Mr. Robert Heron services for
Email
calibration,
me. Just shoot me an email. You know where to get a hold of me, and I will let you know.
HeronFidelity.com or Robert@HeronFidelity.com.
Totally. Any people in the Bay Area? I'm all over the place, setting up making your TVs look pretty.
Rudy from Tucson.
And accurate.
And accurate. Pretty accurate. And sound good.
Always.
In fact, he even does mounting.
I did.
Rudy from Tucson has a question that we all want to know the answers to. He writes in, last year at CES, I remember companies like Vizio, JVC, and Philips teasing us about ultra-widescreen 21:9 TVs that could soon be coming to stores near us, relieving us from the annoying black bars that eat up so much of the screen's real estate. I'm still holding my breath. Did anyone see any ultra-wides at CES 2012? Rudy in Tucson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our Vizio coverage, yeah. It was awesome. At CES, they revealed their 50 and 58-inch 21:9 CinemaWide screens. They are shipping, as they claim, very soon, with their awe-inspiring 71-inch model expected this summer. Do. And here's their page for it, actually showing off. Give you a sense of the width you're talking about there. It's basically just increasing the width to match the format that most movies are shot in.
Right.
So that when you play back these movies, you're taking advantage of every pixel on the screen.
You have no bars.
Yes. And when you do watch 16:9, you can add something in like your apps on the side or other cool stuff that you could do with that extra screen real estate.
Or just leave them black.
And of course, you know, there is always front projection if you want to get your cinema screen experience today. And I'm still itching for one of those new JVC eShift 4K projectors that I was drooling all over that had its presets for different screen heights all built in. And
You were all excited about that.
it's just dynamite technology I want now. Hey, now it's time for the new releases for January 31st, 2012. This week's pick, To Kill a Mockingbird. Universal is celebrating their 100th anniversary, and to celebrate, they're restoring and releasing a ton of classics from their library, beginning with this one. This 1962 classic earned Gregory Peck a Best Actor Oscar, and the restoration looks amazing. It's a 1080p VC1 transfer in the original 1:8:5:1 aspect ratio, and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 soundtrack. Blu-ray.com gives the video quality 5 out of 5, calling it, quote, simply gorgeous, unquote. Extras include commentary with the director Robert Mulligan and producer Alan Pakula, 2 feature-length documentaries, one of the culture of the film and the other on Gregory Peck, revolving around a public Q&A from 1999, Peck's Best Actor acceptance speech, 2 tributes to Peck, one from AFI and one from the Academy, plus a 10-minute featurette with the actress who played Scout as she remembers her experiences. Also included is a 10-minute short on Universal's restoration process, which features many of the experts that clean up your favorite films, a behind-the-scenes look at the tools they use, and before and after examples of damaged film that they've successfully restored. Plus, all of this comes in a fancy digibook case, which includes posters, storyboards, pages from the script with notes, newspaper clippings, and much more. And as always, check out our show notes at Tekzilla.com or HDNation.tv for links to the rest of this week's Blu-ray releases.
Hey, it's me, Roger. I'm here at LensCrafters because I need new glasses. These have been on my face for about 4 years and it's time for a change. Did you know that you can take the same eyewear prescription to a different vision care professional and actually see differently? With this in mind, LensCrafters is designed to launch AccuFit technology, an exclusive state-of-the-art digital measurement system that delivers the best possible placement of your prescription within your eyeglass frames.
1, 2, 3. It's exclusive to LensCrafters and it's 5 times more accurate than conventional methods of fitting your glasses.
Ooh,
You look cool.
futuristic. More precise optical measurements result in clearer, crisper vision.
It's the moment of truth. Let's try these on.
Ooh, nice.
How do they work?
Work really well. They don't feel any heavier, which is great.
The lenses are super light, high tech.
My experience here at LensCrafters with AccuFit has been super positive. I have the best fitting and best looking glasses I've ever had. Now, if you want to find a LensCrafter near you, check out lenscrafters.com/AccuFit.